Imagine coming home to find your family's land, a place filled with memories of summer evenings and your grandfather's laughter, buried under 120 cookie-cutter houses. The HOA president grinned like he'd won a prize, his fancy suit gleaming under the Arizona sun. They thought I was just a small-town teacher, easy to push around. But they didn't know I'd spent years studying land law as a hobby. My name's Ethan Carter, and every nail they hammered into my property built their own cage. If you've got your own HOA horror story, drop your city in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to the channel for more HOA nightmares. I stood frozen that morning, staring at rows of beige homes where my grandfather's pecan orchard once stood. I'd been away for a year teaching abroad in Japan, dreaming of settling on the 40 acres he left me. The Uber driver squinted at the address. "You sure this is right, man? This is Emerald Valley Estates now." My stomach dropped. A sign with gold letters mocked me. "Welcome to Emerald Valley, a premier HOA community." I paid the driver and marched to the sales office, clutching my deed. A cheerful realtor, Sarah, greeted me. "Looking for a Phase 2 home? We're almost sold out." I slid the deed across her desk. "I want to know why there's a neighborhood on my land." Her smile froze. "Oh, you must be Mr. Carter. Mr. Douglas Pierce, our HOA president, mentioned you might stop by. He's in the admin building." She pointed to a sleek glass office that looked more like a tech company than an HOA. As I walked through the development, my boots crunched on perfect sidewalks. Streets named Jade Way and Opal Lane screamed wealth, but the sterile lawns felt wrong, like they'd erased my past. Residents stared, their eyes sharp, like I was trespassing on their turf. My grandfather's orchard, where I'd learned to climb trees, was gone, replaced by a community pool. Rage bubbled inside me. In Pierce's office, he leaned back in a leather chair, his silver hair slicked back, a law degree from Yale on the wall. "Ethan, glad you made it," he said, his voice smooth as oil. "There's been a misunderstanding. Your grandfather signed an HOA agreement in '95. We sent notices to his old address about the development. No response, so we moved forward, all legal." He slid a folder toward me, stuffed with papers, certified mail receipts, bylaws, and notices sent to 789 Pine Road, a house torn down 3 years ago after Grandpa died. My jaw tightened. "You knew that address was invalid." Pierce's smile didn't waver. "We use the address on file. Not our job to track down heirs who don't update their info." He leaned forward. "Fighting this will cost you. Our lawyers, Baxter and Sons, eat guys like you for breakfast. But we're reasonable. How's $150,000 sound to walk away?" I saw the twitch in his eye, a tell I'd learned from years of reading people as a teacher. He was hiding something. I took the folder, keeping my voice steady. "I'll need to review this with my lawyer." Pierce chuckled. "Good luck. You'll need it." As I left, I heard him mutter to his assistant, "He'll cave. They always do." Back at my hotel, I spread the papers out, my teacher's instinct kicking in. Something wasn't right. The notices were dated just weeks after Grandpa's death, like they'd been waiting. I pulled out my laptop and dug into public records. By midnight, I'd found a pattern. 5 other properties swallowed by Emerald Valley, all owned by elderly folks or out-of-state heirs, all with notices sent to bad addresses. Then my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Asterisk, want the truth about Emerald Valley? Meet me at Desert Brew, 9 a.m. tomorrow. A friend." Asterisk, my heart raced. In my years studying land law, I'd learned one thing. Secrets like these always had a whistleblower. I replied, "I'll be there." Whoever this was, they were my first step to turning Pierce's greed into his downfall. The next morning, I sat in Desert Brew, a small coffee shop far from Emerald Valley's prying eyes. The smell of roasted beans mixed with my nerves as I sipped my black coffee, watching the door. Families chatted at tables, and a barista hummed off-key. I'd picked a booth in the corner, my laptop open, pretending to work while my heart pounded. Who was this friend? Was it a trap? My grandfather always said, "Ethan, trust your gut, but check the facts." His voice echoed in my head, grounding me. At 9 a.m. sharp, a woman in a gray hoodie slipped inside, her eyes scanning the room. She looked about 30, her face tired but sharp. When she spotted me, she nodded and slid into the booth. "Mr. Carter? I'm Rachel Hayes," she whispered, her voice shaky. "I used to work for Pierce." Up close, I saw the worry lines on her face, like she hadn't slept in weeks. "Why should I trust you?" I asked, keeping my voice low. She pulled out a USB drive and slid it across the table. "This has everything you need to take down Emerald Valley. Emails, contracts, bank records." I copied them before I quit. I raised an eyebrow. "Why risk this? What's in it for you?" Rachel's eyes welled up. "They took my mom's land too. She's 78, lives in a nursing home now, because of them. Pierce knew she was sick, sent notices to her old address, and claimed her property. I want justice." Her words hit me hard. I thought of Grandpa, his calloused hands teaching me to plant pecan trees. That land was his life. I pocketed the USB. "What's on it?" Rachel leaned closer. "Proof Pierce faked environmental reports to build on your land. There's a toxic spill under those houses, chemicals from an old factory. They bribed inspectors to hide it." My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about my land. Families were living on poisoned ground. "There's more," she said. "Pierce works with a guy named Victor Klein, a developer with ties to City Hall. They've done this in Nevada and Utah too." I nodded, my mind racing. "Why'd you quit?" She looked away. "I found an email where Pierce joked about handling my mom if she fought back. I couldn't stay after that." Her voice broke, and I felt a knot in my chest. This was personal for her too. I promised to keep her name out of it and left, the USB burning a hole in my pocket. Back at the hotel, I plugged it in. The files were a goldmine, emails between Pierce and Klein planning to sell mineral rights under my land for millions, forged signatures on HOA agreements, and a report showing the toxic spill. One email from Pierce to his assistant read, "Carter's clueless. Send the notices to the old address. He'll never show up." I clenched my fists. They'd played me for a fool. Then I found a file labeled Margaret's notes. My heart stopped. Margaret was my grandfather's sister, who'd lived on the land before him. She died years ago, but her notes detailed fights with Pierce over HOA rules. She'd suspected he was targeting her land too. A handwritten skin read, "If I'm gone, check the barn's floorboards." I left proof for Ethan. My hands shook. The barn was still on the property, tucked behind the new community center. That night, under cover of darkness, I snuck into Emerald Valley. The security cameras blinked, but Rachel had given me their blind spots. The barn smelled of dust and memories. I pried up the floorboards, my flashlight shaking. Underneath was a metal box, locked tight. Inside, I found Margaret's diary, photos of Pierce with a city councilor, and a 1994 land survey showing oil deposits worth $20 million. My land wasn't just dirt, it was a jackpot. Pierce wanted it all. As I slipped out, a security guard's flashlight swept nearby. I froze, heart pounding, behind a stack of crates. He passed, and I made it back to my car, the box clutched tight. Margaret's diary had one last note. "Ethan, you're smarter than they think. Trust Emily at the county office. She's clean." Emily? My old high school friend, Emily Parker, worked at the county clerk's office. Could she be the key? I texted Rachel, thanking her, and set a plan. I'd play dumb, let Pierce think I was ready to settle, while I dug deeper with Emily's help. The next day, I called Pierce's office. "I'm considering your offer," I lied. His assistant sounded smug. "Mr. Pierce, knew you'd come around." I smiled to myself. He had no idea what was coming. I met Emily Parker at the county clerk's office the next morning, my hands still trembling from the barn discovery. The office smelled of old paper and coffee, and Emily's familiar smile eased my nerves. We'd been friends in high school, sneaking out to watch stars on my grandfather's land. Now, she was a clerk with access to records that could make or break my fight. "Ethan, you look like you've seen a ghost," she said, pushing her glasses up. I slid Margaret's diary and the USB across her desk. "I need your help. Pierce built 120 homes on my land, and it's not just fraud, it's dangerous." Her eyes widened as I explained the toxic spill and oil deposits. She flipped through the diary, her face paling. Margaret warned me about Pierce years ago. I thought she was paranoid. Emily leaned in, her voice low. I've seen weird filings for Emerald Valley, permits pushed through too fast, signatures that don't match. But Ethan, be careful. Pierce has friends in high places. I nodded, thinking of the city councilor in Margaret's photos. Can you pull the original land records? She hesitated. If I dig, they'll know. I could lose my job. I saw fear in her eyes, but also something else, resolve. For Grandpa, I said softly. She sighed. For you and Margaret. By afternoon, Emily emailed me scanned records from 1994, showing my grandfather never signed any HOA agreement. The signature on Pierce's documents was a fake, scrawled in a hurry. But the real shock was a buried permit noting the toxic spill, a chemical dump from a factory shut down in the 80s. Pierce had paid off an inspector to bury it. I felt sick imagining kids playing on that land. That evening, I met Rachel at a diner to plan our next move. She looked jumpier than before. Pierce called me today, she said, stirring her coffee. He heard I was asking questions. Offered me a job to come back. My heart skipped. You didn't, she cut me off. I said yes. It's the only way to get more proof. I'll record everything. Her bravery stunned me, but I worried she was in too deep. Rachel, if they hurt your mom, she shook her head. They won't. I'm careful. I didn't like it, but we needed her on the inside. Back at my hotel, I studied Margaret's photos again. The city councilor with Pierce was David Morrow, a name I'd seen in Rachel's files. He'd approved Emerald Valley's permits despite red flags. I searched online and found rumors of Morrow's shady deals, but nothing solid. Then my phone rang, Emily whispering. Ethan, I found something big. Morrow's tied to a shell company that owns half the HOA's assets. And there's a name above him, Senator Richard Holt. A senator? My stomach churned. This was bigger than I thought. Don't tell anyone, I warned. I won't, she promised. But Ethan Holt's dangerous. He's got cops and judges in his pocket. I hung up, my mind racing. Pierce wasn't just a greedy HOA president. He was a pawn in a bigger game. I needed to play smarter. The next day, I visited a neighbor in Emerald Valley, Tom Bennett, whose land had been taken too. His small house sat on the edge of the development, dwarfed by new mansions. Tom, a retired mechanic, looked worn out, his hands stained with grease. They told me I'd lose everything if I fought, he said, his voice bitter. My wife's sick, Ethan. I couldn't risk it. I showed him the toxic spill report. His face went pale. My grandkids play out there. I promised to help, feeling his pain like my own. That night, I got another text from Rachel. Asterisk Pierce meeting Morrow tomorrow night. I'm wired. Be ready. Asterisk, my pulse raced. If Rachel could get proof of their deal, we'd have them. But as I lay in bed, Margaret's diary opened beside me. I couldn't shake a memory. Grandpa warning me about men like Pierce. They think they're untouchable, he'd said. But everyone's got a weak spot. I just had to find it before they found Rachel. I barely slept that night, my mind racing with Rachel's plan to record Pierce and Morrow. Her text had been bold, but it scared me. If she got caught, Pierce's threat about handling her mom could become real. I clutched Margaret's diary, her words about trusting Emily giving me hope. By morning, I decided to act. I called Emily and asked her to meet me at a park far from the county office. She arrived, looking nervous, her hair pulled back tight. Ethan, I dug deeper into Holt, she whispered, handing me a folder. He's got a trust fund tied to Emerald Valley's profits. If this goes public, it's his career. I flipped through the papers, bank transfers, emails, and a memo linking Holt to Victor Klein's company. It was dynamite, but I needed Rachel's recording to tie it all together. Can you get me into the county archives? I need old HOA laws from the 90s. She nodded. I'll sneak you in tonight. But Ethan, if Holt's people catch us, her voice trailed off. I squeezed her hand. We're doing this for Grandpa, for Tom, for Rachel's mom. She smiled weakly, and I saw the girl who'd once raced me to the orchard. That evening, Rachel texted, Asterisk meetings at Pierce's office, 8 p.m. I'm wired. Stay close. Asterisk I parked a block away from Emerald Valley's admin building, my heart pounding. The place looked like a fortress, cameras everywhere, security guards patrolling. I waited in my car, listening to Rachel's live feed through an app she'd set up. Her voice came through, steady but tense. Mr. Pierce, Mr. Morrow, thanks for meeting me, she said. Pierce's oily tone replied, Rachel, smart move coming back. We need loyal people. Morrow cut in, gruff. Holt's getting nervous. Carter's sniffing around. We need to shut this down fast. My blood boiled. They knew I was onto them. Rachel played her part well. I can talk to Ethan. Get him to take the $150,000. Pierce laughed. Do it. If he doesn't bite, we've got other ways. The threat hung heavy, and I gripped the steering wheel. Then Rachel asked, what about the oil deposits? If Ethan finds out, Pierce snapped, he won't. Klein's handling the sale. Holt gets his cut, and we're golden. I recorded every word, my hands shaking. This was the proof we needed. But then I heard scuffle. Rachel gasped, what's that? A new voice, cold and sharp, cut in. You're wearing a wire, aren't you? It was Klein. My heart stopped. The feed went dead. Panic hit me. I texted Rachel, get out now, no reply. I called Emily, my voice shaking. Rachel's in trouble. I need to get her out. Emily was already at the archives. Meet me here. We'll find something to stop them. I drove to the county office, my mind a mess. Rachel's bravery, risking everything for her mom, felt like a punch to my gut. I remembered Grandpa telling me, Ethan, protect what matters. I had to save her. At the archives, Emily led me to a dusty room of old records. We searched for hours, my eyes burning. Then I found it, a 1992 Arizona law about land fraud. If an HOA built on disputed property without clear title, the original owner could claim the improvements. Those 120 homes? Legally mine if I proved fraud. Emily gasped. Ethan, this is it. You've got them. But my phone buzzed with a new text from an unknown number. Back off, Carter, or Rachel pays. My stomach dropped. They had her. I showed Emily the text. Her face went pale. We need to call the police. I shook my head. Holt's got cops in his pocket. We need to be smart. I thought of Tom, his grandkids playing on toxic land. I thought of Margaret's diary, her fight against Pierce. I wasn't backing down. I texted back, asterisk, let Rachel go. I'll meet you tomorrow to talk. Asterisk, then I turned to Emily. Get me everything on Holt's trust fund. We're taking this to court. As we left the archives, I felt Grandpa's strength in me. Pierce thought he'd won, but I was building a trap he'd never see coming. The morning sun burned hot as I drove to Emerald Valley for the meeting, my hands tight on the wheel. Rachel's safety weighed on me like a stone. I hadn't heard from her since the feed cut out, and the text threatening her kept replaying in my mind. I told Pierce I wanted to talk, but I wasn't going to beg. Grandpa always said, Ethan, never show a bully your fear. I parked outside the admin building, clutching the folder with Emily's evidence and Margaret's diary. Inside, Pierce sat at his desk, his smile sharp as a blade. Victor Klein stood by the window, his eyes cold. No sign of Rachel. Where's Rachel? I demanded. Pierce leaned back. She's fine, Carter. Just taking a break. You here to take the $150,000 or waste my time? His voice dripped with confidence, but I caught Klein's glance at him, nervous. I slid the folder across the desk. I know about the toxic spill, the forged signatures, and Senator Holt's trust fund. You built on my land without title. Arizona law says those homes are mine. Pierce's smile faltered, but he recovered fast. You're out of your league, teacher. Holt's untouchable, and our lawyers will bury you. Klein stepped forward. Sign the deal, Carter. Walk away, or things get messy. I thought of Rachel's mom, Tom's grandkids, my grandfather's orchard. I'm not signing anything, I said. Release Rachel, or I go to the press. Pierce laughed, but it sounded forced. You've got nothing. I pulled out my phone and played a snippet of Rachel's recording. Pierce's voice saying, Holt gets his cut. Klein's face went pale. Pierce slammed his fist on the desk. "You're playing with fire, Carter." I stood my ground. "Let her go, or this goes public." Klein whispered something to Pierce, who nodded. "Fine. Rachel's at her apartment. But you're making a big mistake." I didn't trust them, but I had to check on her. At Rachel's apartment, I found her shaken but unharmed, sitting on her couch. "They caught me with the wire," she whispered. Klein wanted to hurt me, but Pierce said it wasn't worth it. Her hands trembled, and I felt a surge of guilt for dragging her into this. "You're done with them," I said. "I've got enough to fight." She shook her head. "I'm not out. My mom deserves justice." Her strength reminded me of Margaret, never backing down. Back at the hotel, I called Emily. She'd found more on Holt, a paper trail showing he'd pushed through Emerald Valley's permits for a cut of the oil profits. "Ethan, there's a judge, Clara Evans, who's clean," Emily said. "She's handled land fraud before. File with her." I spent the night building my case, using the 1992 law, Rachel's recording, and Emily's documents. But a new worry hit me: Holt's reach. If he controlled cops and judges, Clara might be my only shot. The next day, I visited Tom again. He'd gathered neighbors who'd lost land to the HOA. Their stories were like mine: forged papers, fake notices, threats. One woman, Maria, cried as she described losing her family farm. "My dad built our house with his own hands," she said. "Now it's a parking lot." I promised to fight for them all, feeling their pain like a fire in my chest. That evening, Rachel called, her voice urgent. I went back to Pierce's office, acted like I was sorry. I found a memo: Holt's meeting Pierce tonight at a warehouse. They're moving money to cover their tracks. My heart raced. This was our chance to catch them red-handed. I grabbed my camera and drove to the warehouse, a run-down building outside town. Hiding behind crates, I saw Pierce and Holt arguing. "Carter's got too much," Holt snapped. "We need to end this." Pierce nodded. "I've got a guy who can make it look like an accident." My blood ran cold. They were planning to come after me. I snapped photos, my hands shaking, and slipped away before they saw me. Back at the hotel, I uploaded everything to a secure drive. Grandpa's voice echoed, "Ethan, truth is your weapon." I was ready to use it, but I had to protect Rachel, Emily, and the others first. I sat in my hotel room, the photos from the warehouse burning a hole in my laptop. Pierce and Holt's words, planning to make my death look like an accident, echoed in my head. My hands shook as I backed up the files to a second drive, just in case. Grandpa's voice rang clear. "Ethan, truth is your weapon, but protect yourself first." I couldn't let fear stop me, but I had to be smarter than them. I called Rachel and Emily, telling them to lay low. Rachel's voice was steady but tired. "I'm staying with my mom for now," she said. "They won't touch her if I'm close." Emily sounded scared. "Ethan, I heard Holt's people asking about me at the county office. I'm taking a few days off." Guilt hit me hard. I'd pulled them into this mess, and now their lives were at risk. I thought of Tom and Maria, their families suffering because of Pierce's greed. This wasn't just about my land anymore. It was about everyone they'd hurt. The next morning, I met with Judge Clara Evans' clerk to file my case. The courthouse smelled of polished wood, and the clerk, a young guy named Ben, looked over my papers. "This is big, Mr. Carter," he said, adjusting his tie. "Fraud, toxic spills, a senator? Judge Evans will take this seriously, but you need more than documents. You need witnesses." I nodded, thinking of Tom and Maria. I spent the day rallying the neighbors, meeting them at Tom's house. About a dozen showed up, their faces worn but angry. Maria spoke first, her voice shaking. "They took my farm, said I missed a tax payment I never got notice for. My kids lost their home." Another neighbor, James, a retired firefighter, added, "Pierce threatened to sue me into the ground when I asked questions. My wife's health can't take the stress." Their stories fueled me. I told them about the 1992 law and Holt's trust fund. "We can take back what's ours," I said, "but we need to stand together." They agreed to testify, their courage giving me strength. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. My heart raced, expecting another threat. Instead, it was Ben, the clerk. Ethan, I shouldn't be telling you this, but Judge Evans got a call from Holt's office. They're trying to move your case to a different judge, one they control. My stomach dropped. Holt was pulling strings. Can you stop it? I asked. Ben hesitated. I'll try, but you need to move fast. File a motion to keep Evans by tomorrow. I thanked him and called Emily, who helped me draft the motion. Her voice was shaky. Ethan, someone followed me home last night. I'm scared. I felt sick. Stay with a friend, I told her. We're close. That night, I couldn't sleep, so I went through Margaret's diary again. One entry caught my eye. Pierce bragged about a judge in his pocket, 1998. Check old cases. I searched online and found a 1998 case where a judge, Harold Grant, dismissed a fraud claim against Pierce's HOA. Grant retired years ago, but rumors said he'd been bribed. On a hunch, I tracked down his address. The next day, I drove to a small house in the desert. Grant, now old and frail, answered the door. I know what you did for Pierce, I said, showing him Margaret's diary. His face crumpled. I was wrong, he whispered. They paid me to look the other way. I've regretted it ever since. He agreed to write a sworn statement about Pierce's bribes, his voice heavy with shame. Do right by your grandfather, he said. I left, feeling a mix of hope and dread. Grant's statement was gold, but Holt's reach was long. That evening, Rachel texted, * found something new. Pierce is shredding documents tonight at the office. I'm going in, * my heart sank. No, Rachel, it's too dangerous. I texted back. She didn't reply. I grabbed my keys and drove to Emerald Valley, praying I wasn't too late. At the office, I saw lights flickering inside. A shadow moved, Rachel, sneaking through a side door. Before I could follow, a car pulled up. It was Klein, his face grim. I ducked behind a dumpster, my pulse racing. They were closing in, but I wasn't giving up. Grandpa's land, Rachel's mom, Maria's farm. It was all on me now. My heart pounded as I crouched behind the dumpster. Klein's car idling just feet away. The Emerald Valley office loomed dark, except for the faint glow where Rachel had slipped inside. I couldn't let her face Pierce alone, but Klein's presence meant trouble. Grandpa's words echoed. Ethan, courage ain't about being fearless. It's acting despite the fear. I took a deep breath and texted Emily. * Rachel's in danger at the office. Call Ben, see if he can get cops we trust. * she replied instantly. * on it. Stay safe. * I crept closer to the building, sticking to the shadows. Klein stepped out of his car, talking on his phone. Yeah, Pierce is shredding everything. Carter's done if he shows up. My blood ran cold. They were erasing evidence and setting a trap for me. I had to get Rachel out. The side door Rachel used was unlocked. I slipped inside, the air thick with the hum of a shredder. In a back room, I found her, stuffing papers into a bag. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Ethan, what are you doing here? She whispered. Klein's outside, I hissed. We need to go. She shook her head, pointing to a stack of documents. These are contracts tying Holt to the oil deal. We can't leave them. Her hands shook, but her voice was firm. I thought of her mom, alone in a nursing home because of Pierce. I nodded. Hurry. We grabbed what we could, but footsteps echoed down the hall. Klein's voice barked, check every room. Rachel froze, her face pale. I pulled her behind a filing cabinet, my pulse racing. Klein stormed in, his flashlight sweeping the room. I know you're here, Hayes, he growled. You and Carter are finished. My stomach twisted. He knew we were both here. Rachel clutched my arm, her breath shallow. I whispered, stay calm. We'll get out. But Klein lingered, kicking over a chair. Then my phone buzzed Emily. I silenced it, but the glow caught Klein's eye. Got you, he snarled, lunging toward us. I shoved the cabinet, toppling it onto him. He cursed as it pinned him, giving us a chance to run. We bolted through the hall, papers spilling from Rachel's bag. Outside, we ducked into my car just as police sirens wailed in the distance. Emily had come through. We sped off, my heart still hammering. At a gas station, Rachel and I sorted through the papers. One was a bombshell, A signed agreement between Holt and Pierce, dated weeks after Grandpa's death, planning to sell the oil rights. Another showed Klein bribing a health inspector to hide the toxic spill. Rachel's eyes filled with tears. This proves they ruined my mom's life. I felt her pain, thinking of Grandpa's orchard buried under those houses. We've got them, I said. The next day, I filed the new evidence with Judge Evans, along with Grant's statement and the neighbors' testimonies. Ben met me at the courthouse, looking nervous. Evans is keeping the case, but Holt's pushing hard. The hearing's tomorrow. I thanked him, my mind racing. That afternoon, I visited Tom and Maria, telling them about the hearing. Maria hugged me, her voice soft. My dad would have fought like you. Thank you. Her words hit me hard, reminding me of Grandpa's stubborn pride. But trouble wasn't over. That night, I got a call from an unknown number. A rough voice said, "Drop the case, Carter, or your friends won't make it to court." My blood ran cold. I thought of Emily hiding at a friend's and Rachel guarding her mom. I recorded the call and sent it to Ben, hoping Evans would see Holt's desperation. Then Rachel texted, "Pierce is panicking. He's meeting Holt at a hotel tonight. I'm following. I begged her to stop, but she was already gone. I grabbed my camera and headed to the hotel, praying I could keep her safe. At the hotel, I spotted Rachel in the lobby, blending in with the crowd. Across the room, Pierce and Holt sat in a corner, their faces tense. Holt whispered, "If Evans rules against us, we're done. Take care of Carter tonight." My hands shook as I filmed them. Rachel saw me and nodded, slipping me a key card to Holt's room. If we could find more evidence there, we'd seal their fate. But as I headed upstairs, a security guard blocked my path, his eyes sharp. "You don't belong here," he said. I was out of time, and Holt's plan was closing in. The security guard's hand rested on his radio, his eyes locked on mine in the hotel hallway. My heart raced, the keycard to Holt's room burning in my pocket. Rachel's warning about Holt's plan to take care of me echoed in my head. Grandpa always said, "Ethan, when you're cornered, think fast." I forced a smile. "Sorry, wrong floor. My room's downstairs." The guard hesitated, then nodded. "Get moving." I backed away, slipping into the stairwell, my mind spinning. I texted Rachel. Guard stopped me. "Meet me outside." She replied. Got something from Holt's laptop. "Leaving now." Relief hit me, but I knew we weren't safe yet. Outside, Rachel met me in the parking lot, her face pale. "I hacked Holt's email," she whispered, handing me a USB. "He's been paying off judges across 3 states. Pierce is just the start." My jaw dropped. This was bigger than Emerald Valley. It was a criminal network. We drove to my hotel, checking for tails. Inside, we reviewed the files, emails detailing Holt's bribes, including one to a judge who'd dismissed a case like mine years ago. Rachel's hand shook. This could free my mom's land. I nodded, thinking of Grandpa's orchard, now a sterile subdivision. We end this tomorrow. The next morning, the courthouse buzzed with tension. Judge Clara Evans sat tall, her face stern. Pierce, Holt, and Klein sat with their lawyers, looking smug. Tom, Maria, and the neighbors filled the gallery, their eyes on me. I presented my case, laying out the 1992 law, the forged signatures, the toxic spill, and Holt's trust fund. Rachel's recording played, Pierce's voice admitting Holt's cut. Gasps rippled through the room. Then I dropped the bombshell. Holt's emails from Rachel's USB, proving his bribery ring. Holt's face turned red, and Pierce shouted, "He's lying." Evans banged her gavel. "Order." Klein tried to slip out, but deputies stopped him. I called Grant as a witness, his frail voice confessing to past bribes. Maria testified, tears falling as she spoke of her farm. The neighbors' stories sealed it. Evans ruled in my favor. The 120 homes were mine, the HOA's assets frozen, and criminal charges filed against Pierce, Holt, and Klein. Holt yelled, "You'll pay for this, Carter," as deputies cuffed him. Outside, reporters swarmed, and I saw Rachel hug her mom, who'd come from a nursing home. Emily grabbed my hand, her smile wide. We did it. Weeks later, I sold the homes back to residents at cost, using the oil profits to fund a cleanup of the toxic spill. The neighbors formed a new community board, with Tom as president. Maria's farm was restored, and she planted a garden in her dad's memory. Rachel became a lawyer, fighting HOA fraud, her mom by her side. I kept a small piece of the land, rebuilding Grandpa's pecan orchard. One evening, I stood there, the scent of fresh earth filling my lungs. Kids played nearby, their laughter echoing like my childhood. I thought of Grandpa, Margaret, and the neighbors who trusted me. We'd turned greed into justice, proving no one's untouchable when people stand together. The moral hit me hard. Fight for what's right, even when the odds seem impossible, because truth and community can break any trap. As I watched the sunset, I felt peace, knowing we'd built something stronger than any HOA.